Hey everybody, this is our tutorial overview for drums on What a Beautiful Name. We're taking this song at 136 beats per minute, which is basically an eighth note version of half that tempo. A lot of times you'll hear us talk about this in the overview, but I'll always try to set, unless there's a rare exception, I always try to set the click to be at the drummer's right hand. The reason why is because that's just a lot better to lock into, not only for the drummer, but also for the rest of the band. A lot of times people don't have their in-ears mixed very well or their monitors mixed very well, and you always want to make sure that they don't lose the click if they've lost you, because sometimes there's not a hi-hat mic in their monitors or anything like that. And a quarter note at this tempo, that would leave a lot of room for swimming. So just to keep the band better locked in, we're at 136 BPM. This song's actually all about dynamics. This song is, interestingly enough, we feel like about watching the worship leader, because there's several moments that might be extended, not only like doubling a chorus or doubling the instrumental part before the vocal comes in on the bridge. It's gonna start out in verse 2, which is 4 on the floor, kick drum. That's gonna support the whole verse, and then when the chorus comes in, there's a very distinct pattern that I'm gonna break down in the future video where we break down all the patterns distinctly. But the idea is you're gonna go to add to your 4 on the floor, you're just gonna add a tom. Really, that's our groove, but you could play any hybrid of that. The basic undercurrent of your kick drum and just filling in some subdivisions with your floor tom, you can almost get away with anything as long as you're being sensitive to the vocal. Then it's gonna crash out and we hit the instrumental part, and it's that amazing climactic bridge. It's like the apex of the song. And what we try to do on those is a real subtle dynamic build. Again, you can get away with a lot of things, but man, I'm telling you, in the midst of not making a live record, in the midst of churches that are, just trying to facilitate a worship experience with a great lyric and melody, simpler is better. So we basically do what I'm gonna call a 3-stage build. So the 3-stage build, technically it's 4, but there's 3 big parts and a 4th small part. The first part is just, you're keeping your 4 on the floor going, and then you add toms. The idea is to start quiet and elevate it up, right? And then when it's time to go to the next stage of the build, you're gonna give a snare and cymbal crash, and that creates some high-end excitement that just tells everybody, hey, wake up, here we are. So you go from that to this. The only thing I did was I took my hand off the rack tom, put it on the snare, and to make that transition, popped the cymbal, and we're just keeping it going. Same subdivision. That's stage 2, and then stage 3 on the build basically is where we increase what the kick drum's doing. And now the kick has come off of 4 on the floor. Now it's doing 8 on the floor with your hands, all 8th notes. And then to bring it up finally, I'm gonna pop the snare and cymbal again, and 16th note, the ride snare, and keep the kicks on 8. And the idea of that whole thing is just to kind of create dynamic, and you're staging your build. Everything, when you add high end, you're being real deliberate. We're gonna add high end when it's lyrically appropriate. We're gonna add high end when we want to elevate with the singer, with your worship leader. So watch them. This is kind of where the dynamic game as a drummer is super important. If they're staying really low vocally, you don't wanna be bringing them up. You wanna kind of hang on every word they're saying. Listen to how hard they're hitting their acoustic guitar. Listen to how hard they're hitting the piano if they lead from piano, and that'll give you all the cues that you need to support where they're going. Finally, the last bit is the final chorus. It's a real simple groove. I'm gonna break this down again in a future video and really go into the nuance of where I'm placing cymbal crashes and why. But the basic idea is just a straight groove. Just boom, chuck, boom, boom, chuck. I mean, that always feels good. These are all grooves that are super simple, but they always feel good in the midst of a song where they're appropriate. There's nothing that's going to get in the way of the vocal. There's nothing that's going to distract anybody. I mean, as drummers, we have the ability to be noticed, and it's usually good to be noticed as a great drummer that supports the song instead of a great drummer that overplays the song. So if you incorporate a lot of these thoughts, like watch your worship leader, pay attention to dynamics. If they're repeating the chorus, make sure you give yourself some margin to be able to escalate so that the chorus doesn't get stale. Stage your build. Be really careful about when you add high-end excitement, those kinds of things. I'll break them down in the in-depth tutorial on this, but hopefully if you're on a mad dash to church, this is giving you what you need. Take care.